Hey, Tommy, we've got some more breaking news. As you know, we just did a video on the Tesla pricing, and now we've got breaking news from Mazda because, get this, the Rotary's back.
Yeah, that's right. So the legendary spinning burrito has returned from a brand new Mazda, but it's not exactly what you think it might be. So you're probably expecting like an RX-7 or an RX-8 or an RX-9 as it may be, but we're getting a Rotary as a range extender of sorts in a hybrid-powered vehicle.
Let's do some background before we get to the facts and all the information. We got a lot of it here about the new 2024 Mazda MX-30 REV. Now, you know that the MX-30 came out, what, about a year ago? Because you went to the launch. Tell me about that car.
Yeah, so it's a fully electric EV, but if you read between the lines, in my opinion, it was largely a California compliance car to meet regulation because it was a little disappointing on paper. We're talking like a mid $30,000 starting price, but only 100 miles of EPA estimated range. Now, this car got a lot of hate from the American press. I actually drove it. I really, really liked it. There's a lot of cool things to like about it, but it just didn't meet the biscuit in terms of range for U.S. consumers.
And when Mazda first announced that car, they said that there was going to be one with a REX. And of course, REX stands for range extender, which is similar to the BMW i3. But when they brought it to America, I think what caused a lot of people to scratch their heads was that there was no REX. It was a pure EV. But now the REX is back.
This may not look like it, but this is one of the rarest cars ever because this is an Acura RSX Type S in bone stock condition. You got to check this thing out. These cars were incredibly popular with the tuning community and they were slammed in stance and had engine mods, but this thing is a unicorn because it's completely stock and it looks really good in stock configuration. Now everybody bought these and they changed out the seats and the steering wheel and the shift knob, but why? Acura put so much time and effort in developing the perfect steering wheel and the perfect shift knob that a stock one is going to be, in my opinion, way better than a modified one. And the best part is, if you want to own this exact car, it's up for auction right now at TFLbids.com. There can't be many of these like this left in the world.
Now we're saying REX, which stands for range extender, and we'll get into that a little bit on how it works because it's not really a REX like the i3 was. It's actually pretty different. Now, let's see what we're getting here. So first of all, the Mazda debuted this MX-30 R-EEV. R-EV?
Yeah, Rev. Sort of, kind of.
At the Brussels Motor Show. Its full name is the Mazda MX-30 eSkyActiv R-EV. Not a great name.
Yeah, and all the information we currently have centers around the European model, including all of our photos. So keep in mind, this may change. What we're getting isn't quite a range extender like an i3, and let's talk about that, Tommy. It's more of a philosophically plug-in hybrid. So the way the i3 works is you have a battery, and then there's a gas engine, a 600cc Kimco that basically recharges this battery when the battery gets down to like 6%, right?
But hang on. It was more of a supplemental way to get the electric car to a charger. So in the BMW, it was never really intended to be driven on gasoline alone because of the tiny displacement and the tiny horsepower output.
Yeah, and we had that car. Andre actually has it now. His wife drives it, and we tried driving it up to Loveland ski area, up to Loveland Pass, and we ran out of battery. And going up from Georgetown, which gets very steep, remember we were doing like 25 miles an hour, you know, running that car off the range extender, which was terrifying on I-70, and then like 16 miles an hour going up to the top of Loveland Pass. So you're right. It wasn't meant to actually be driven that way.
And you know that because the fuel tank in an i3 was only around 2 and a bit gallons. It was like 2.4.
It was 2.6, and they put it in jail, actually. We had to jailbreak it because that's another story. Let's not go there.
But hang on. What you need to know is on a range extender, the car has to go further on electricity than gasoline, and that's what the i3 does. The Mazda is different. So the standard electric MX-30 has a 35.5 kilowatt hour battery, good for 100 miles of range. The range extended one has a 17.8 kilowatt hour battery.
Half.
Yeah, so it's about half the size, and it's only good for about 53 miles of range. But where it's different from the i3 is that it has a much larger fuel tank. So it has a 13.2 gallon fuel tank versus the BMW, which had like 2-ish.
Yeah, it's basically the same size fuel tank as the Mazda 3, which means that the tank feeds an 803cc single rotor engine, Tommy, that functions as a generator. In other words, this is a series hybrid. The gas engine does not directly power the wheels, kind of like a train locomotive.
Now, what you got to remember about rotary-powered engines is you hear 803 cc's, and you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, it's going to have no horsepower whatsoever. But you got to consider the high output relative to the small displacement that a rotary engine provides. If you look back at like the old RX-7s, those were typically only between like 1 liter and 1.3 liters, 1.5 liters. They were really pretty small engines. In terms of its overall displacement because of how the rotary rotor works. Now, we don't know the horsepower on this model.
So a fun fact, though.
What?
The first new car ever bought was a Mazda RX-7.
I am aware.
Anyway, so while you get less electric range, the bigger gas tank does put the MX-30 in a much better position for long-range usability. Estimated, Tommy, 373 miles of range or 600 kilometers on a full charge and a full tank of gas compared to the pure EV's 100 miles.
Now, what is interesting, right? And this is why it's kind of exciting to me, is that rotaries are a very compact engine, which makes a lot of sense for a range extended vehicle. So you're probably thinking, well, I mean, if it's a range extender, or it makes a lot of sense for a plug-in hybrid vehicle too, because you can pack a ton of punch in a small little unit.
Yeah, so while the electric motor in the MX-30R EV is more powerful than the standard car, it has 164 horsepower, 21 more than the standard EV.
Yeah, but it has slightly less torque at 192 versus 200. I would love to know that output of the gasoline engine itself, so that'd be pretty cool. I don't think we have that number. It's about 300 pounds heavier than the BEV, even though it has half the battery capacity, and the engine itself is just about 33 pounds lighter than the dual rotor setup we had in the old RX-8.
So how fast is it from 0 to 60?
Well, 9.1 seconds, down from 9.7, so not a sports car, but still pretty quick. And once again, this is a serial hybrid, or, oh my gosh, my brain, a series hybrid, and what that means is that there's no connection between the rotary and the wheels. All the rotary does is power the battery.
All right, so let's talk about charging because, of course, electric vehicles are all about charging. So tell me, how fast does it charge, or how does it charge?
Well, it does technically support DC fast charging, which is still pretty unusual for like a plug-in hybrid, but only up to 36 kilowatts. So if you consider in the world of EVs, like a lot of new cars now are pulling over 200, 36 is very, very slow. They're saying a 20 to 80% charging on the 17.8 kilowatt hour battery takes 25 minutes, which is a long time for a little battery.
Yeah, for reference, the Hyundai Ioniq 5 can charge at 77.4 kilowatts on a 350 kilowatt charger in less time. It can actually charge a lot quicker than that, can't it?
Yeah, so with the Ioniq 5, 77.4 kilowatt hours, we're talking 10 to 80% in like 18 minutes. Now, the full MX-30 EV can support up to 50 kilowatts of fast charging. Now, what is it going to cost?
Well, we don't know how much the MX-30R EV will cost, but it will arrive in the U.S. During the 2023 model year, so sometime in the next several months.
And it will hit Europe this year as well, and is already up on the Mazda UK's consumer website. UK's pricing starts around the equivalent of $39,000 US, but their BEV pricing and Rotary Extend EV start at about the same point, which is interesting. So it'd be awesome if they could bring it here for under 40 grand. If the UK price translates to the US version, then the rev will start somewhere in the mid $30,000 range.
Yeah, so for the 2023 Mazda MX-30 EV starts at 35. That's not the range extended one. That's just a regular one. You know, those things, I was actually doing some poking around on dealer websites in California, and they're selling for less money now because people, I think, have found that 100 miles of range is just, it's a city car, basically.
What is interesting, though, is people always focus on that. But as a car to drive, it was wonderful. You have this kind of funky interior with these clamshell doors, which people don't like. But
and the cork.
It is fun. It has cork on the inside. One of the few cars that has cork trim. I love the ride quality and the dynamics. It really drives
put the car
like a
back
Mazda.
up there instead of the rotary engine. Let's show them that. Okay, there we go.
And then I know it's coming. You got to give it a sec.
Wow, that computer is very slow.
Well, it's ancient. It's like 8 years old.
Okay.
The UK spec car gets 3 trim levels. Here, I want to show you this. This is pretty cool.
Okay.
This is the setup here. Now, the funny thing is on the fully electric version, when you open up the hood, you have this massive void under the hood, which, as you can see, is being occupied now by the gasoline engine. The UK spec car gets 3 trim levels as well as a special Edition R model, and this is really cool. What is the Edition R? It's a 3-tone setup.
So Mazda includes, like you said, 3 trim levels. Keep going with what you were talking about.
Well, I lost the picture. It's all gone away now.
Okay, Mazda includes special touches like the maroon rouge metallic roof. That's a throwback to a roof paint scheme on the R360s, Mazda's first production car. Mazda logos embedded in the headrest and the Edition R tags on the floor mats. There you go. You can see it on the headrest. Good timing there, Tommy. And all MX-30 EV models will get Rotary badges on the fender and an eSkyActiv REV badge on the tailgate.
Now, we should have more information about when, where, and how you're going to be able to buy this MX-30 in the next few months. Right now, you can only buy the EV in California.
Thank you for watching. And remember, go to alltfl.com if you want to see the news on the new Teslas and how much they dropped their pricing, or any other videos. Tommy and I just did a great drag race. If you're into EVs, we drag raced the Bolt against the Leaf against the Mini SE.
Pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool stuff, and that's also at All TFL. See you guys next time.
See ya.
Ciao.